In today's show, we have another multi-topic episode where first we discuss, should elders' kids intervene against alleged gold diggers? And secondly, we discuss, does our food actually poison us?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasulo, and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague, Tayo Boya. Tayo, hello, my friend, once again. I hope you're keeping safe and well.
Yeah, I don't know, Tony. What you gonna do, eh? What you gonna do?
Come on. You know what I'm going to ask you?
No.
Just a little teensy weensy little hello.
No.
Goodness.
But,
At least they make you smile.
before the show, I thought I was tired, man. And you're still going to hit me with this blooming. No.
Oh, dear, indeed, indeed. Anyway, on with today's show. Now, today we've got a multi-topic episode. We've tried to cover a couple of different topics, of course, time permitting, but we'll see where that takes us. But before we actually begin, I will remind our wonderful audience out there to join us on Tayo's new TNT Talkers Facebook group. Now, that is totally free, it's open, and it allows you to interact with us directly if you so fit, and basically share some of your thoughts on the topics that we cover. Maybe come up with ideas on new shows that we can discuss, or even take a pop at us if you think that what we've said isn't that great. But either way, you can join in with some of the topics that we cover on there. It's open to anyone, and please join us. It's called TNT Talkers. Other than that, if Facebook is not your thing, then obviously still comment on whatever platform you consume our topics on. We will get back to you no matter when. Okay, on with today's show. And these ones are yours, Tayo. And the first one's an interesting one. You come up with, should elders' kids intervene against alleged gold diggers? Why did you come up with that, first of all?
There's a story doing the rounds, and it's big in Hong Kong, apparently. There's someone they called ATM Grandpa. An ATM Grandpa is a 78, 79-year-old who became enamored with a 40-year-old.
Okay.
And
so there's a 40-year age difference between the two.
About a 40-year age difference. And apparently the kids were concerned, wondering, what she saw in him, which is a bit of an insult on the poor guy, I thought. But their concern grew astronomically when pictures of her showed up on social media, decked out in finery.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
apparently came from ATM Grandpa. He's sort of splashing out on her. And the child with whom he was living kicked him out.
Sorry, hang on, clarify that again. The child with who the grandpa was living?
The grandfather was living,
Yeah.
yes. Kicked him out. Said
Kicked
if you
the
don't
grandfather out.
Yes, if you don't stop seeing this woman, go and live somewhere else.
Oh.
And when the brouhaha kicked off, the lady betook herself to mainland China and has basically gone on the lam.
Disappeared.
And yes, and I just thought, well, there's all sorts of interesting little questions that have to be asked here. And it's not, for me, it wasn't a straightforward thing to figure out. That did the children act inappropriately? the act. It's a really difficult one. And I thought, well, here's a good place to talk about this sort of thing. The TNT talk show, and
Indeed.
that's why we're here.
Okay. So, I mean, it is certainly an interesting one. Now, I mean, that reminds me of a story of a similar situation, actually, where there's this old man who was in his 80s now, and he outlived three other wives. Three. Okay.
Hmm.
So he was now 81, and his three previous wives all died before him. So he was a widower three times.
Mm.
So at 81, he met a 35-year-old woman. Okay. Now,
Hmm.
she was quite attractive, and he's obviously 81. And one of his close friends said, listen, you're 81. You've now met someone who's 35. Now, clearly she's not after your money because you haven't got much,
Hmm.
but she's 35, man. You're 81. You need to be careful because what little you have, it's risky. And his answer was, well, if she dies, she dies. That's four.
Yeah.
I assume you've heard that one before.
Yes, just a little, but it's still funny. It's still
No, the
raises a
point is,
chuckle.
the point is, if kids get involved, are they doing it for selfish reasons? Are they interfering because they're believing they're missing out on inheritance? Or are they genuinely concerned about their father or mother picking someone who's substantially younger than them? I mean,
Mm.
at the end of the day, if they got their wits about them, yes, the kids can be mindful of their parents, but they shouldn't interfere unless, in my opinion, they see some clear red flags, which
Well,
could
as
be seen.
full disclosure,
Yeah.
full disclosure, it actually happened to me,
Oh,
and I was in two frames of mind about this
okay.
myself, and I spent a long time questioning my motives,
Oh, wow.
and the answer turns out to be both. There is definitely a sense of, hey, hang on, that's the family's money.
Hmm.
But there's also a sense of she's only after the money.
Hmm.
And it's a really, really hard decision to make because, after all, it was his money.
Hmm.
And if he wants to throw it away, I mean, he was throwing it away on a woman. He could have thrown it away on drugs or gambling, and then what?
Yeah,
Do you see what I mean? Like,
indeed.
if someone has worked for the money, now, although I would never do that and say, well, if you lose all your money, don't come and hang out with me. It's not the way I was brought up. If you lose all your money, there's a room, you can come and
Yeah.
stay,
Yeah.
you threw your money away, sort of thing. But I can certainly understand frustrated family members who think, well, if you throw your money away, that's it, you've gone. It's not so much a question of it might not be a question of punishment or anything. It's just that, look, you were that dumb and you throw your money away, and now I'm supposed to carry you.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, said parent carried you when you were young,
Indeed.
for 18, 20, whatever it was.
Mm.
Yes,
Probably longer now, mid-20s, yeah.
exactly. Well, there we go. I know I still got my flipping.
Yes, I can relate to that too.
Resource sink.
The thing
Am-
is, the thing
Ambulatory
is,
resource sink, I think I
yeah,
call it now.
it's two ways. I mean, I don't know how you finally reconciled your situation. It's it's brave of you to share that where it was a personal story.
He died and the situation resolved itself. But
Oh, really?
in
How
the
would you have
end,
resolved it in the end, in your
it's his
opinion?
money.
It's his money, yeah.
It's his money. What do
I
you want
mean,
to do? What you gonna do? You know,
at the end of the day,
to me, it's a silly way because I'm MGTOW, don't forget. So it's like, what the hell are you spending money on a woman
well,
for?
okay.
But
The thing is,
it's better than,
if
I
it
mean,
was,
I think that's better than gambling.
yeah, better than gambling or drugs. And
Well,
if
drugs is
it,
having fun, man. It's
well,
going out in style.
yeah, but you didn't see his face at night, though, did you? So there you go. So if it works out in that the bedroom department, then clearly that's money well spent.
The funny thing about most of these sort of gold digger situations, as you get older and older and older, your ability and even your libido itself drops to
Yeah.
the point where you don't really that it's companionship at the end of the day. It's
Well,
companionship.
if it is companionship, then
But it's like if it's companionship, it's like that's what TV is for, man. You know, and that's what
well,
we the kids are for. That's we're always around. We're not
but
we're
are we? We're
Nigerian.
not there all the time, though.
Hey, he had grandchildren. He was because he moved to the UK. It's because he came back to the UK. He returned to the UK. And Nigeria is surrounded by extended family nonstop. Maybe it's the same thing in Italy. I think
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it
you're
is.
absolutely surrounded. I mean, they're sort of underfoot
Mm.
kind of thing. You're not
Sometimes you
going to
want to get
be.
rid of them all, and they're just cleaning up
You're not
too
going to
much.
be. You're not going to be lonely at all. The opposite, actually. And then, of course, you're a reliable nanny, babysitter. Everybody just ends up
Everybody can do it.
at
Yeah.
granddad's house and grandma's.
Yeah.
Everybody ends up there. It just becomes the center of the community
Mm.
of the family. So that would have been the issue. No.
It's interesting. It's interesting because I think part of the culture in the West, anyway, we seem to believe that we're entitled to an inheritance.
Mm,
That also skews things
mm.
rather than if family members have earned it themselves, then it's their money.
It's their money.
Yeah, it's them. They can do what they want with
America
it.
takes it to the limit. Do you remember the case of Anna Nicole Smith? Was that her full name?
Yes, yes, it was.
That was terrible. That was what were they doing? And that was this man's money, and they did everything in their power to stiff her out of let's call it, let's be honest, a hard graft for several years. And she had his kid in, by the way,
Yeah,
anyway,
she did. Yeah, she
didn't
did.
she?
And he was 90 in the end or something.
He was, yeah, he was wheelchair and everything, and she looked after him and
Yeah,
whatever. So, why are you even allowed to get into that position? But we all know America is all about, the lawyers and all that sort of thing. But I found that perfectly disgusting, and maybe that's what at the back of my mind. I didn't want to be like that,
yeah, yeah.
I think, it's because that was definitely about the money
Mm.
because he met her when she was what, 15, 16, something weird like that, and he was
Oh,
God knows how old.
I
Yeah,
didn't
she
know
was.
that. I didn't know
Oh
that.
yeah, she was. I don't know how old she was, but when he met her, she was really, really young, and he
Okay.
was already really, really
Old.
old.
So was he like a father figure to her?
They just kind of got on,
Mm.
and he spent a lot of money. Obviously, he had his multi-billionaire,
Yeah, yeah.
and she was happy. And as far as I can tell, she stayed with him.
Yeah, she did.
You know,
But she died in the end because of
I know her son died. I think that broke her
young.
heart,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then she
She
died, which
died,
is
yeah, shortly
ridiculous.
after. Yeah, it was a quite a sad story in the end. I mean,
Mm.
but I do remember the press and the media lambasting her, saying
Well,
all these nasty things.
they're just
Yeah.
trying to sell prints, aren't they?
Mm. But
They're
that's
not,
right. Yeah, they were
they're not
together a little while.
exactly bastions of
I mean,
moral turpitude. Is
but
that the
what?
word I'm looking for?
Yeah, but what didn't? I suppose, which
Turpitude.
wasn't in her favor. I suppose, had she been a small, plain Jane type person, it would have been blown over.
What are you
But she
talking about?
was
What are you talking about? Is
Anna Nicole.
the Anna Cosmet? What are you talking about? What about Mrs. now, ex Mrs. Gates? She was playing. She was a secretary. She married the boss. Nobody's ever forgotten it. People
Yeah,
aren't going to forget, man. It
no,
doesn't
no,
matter what
no.
the hell you look like. It's just that You were young. There's something, for some reason, you don't fit the Hollywood, rom-com stereotype. So there must be money involved, or must be mercenary motives, and people are just going to assign, because that's probably the way they themselves feel. So people ascribe to you what they themselves would do. This is the funny thing about it,
Yeah.
in my opinion, anyway.
It's an interesting one because, like I said, children, offspring should not be mandated any wealth that the parents have accumulated. If they want to give it to the children, then it's up to them. But there's no mandatory element of it. Now,
Hmm.
obviously, if there's a will involved and someone dies, and that's different because, again, it's the wishes of the person who's passed away. But the kids should not, in society, we should change people's thinking and make them understand that there's nothing here unless they want to give it to you. Don't expect it. If it
Okay.
is, it's a bonus. Exactly
Okay.
that.
Okay. Now I've given you the one side, which is Anna Nicole Smith, and I was on her side. I understand the children's sort of angst and frustration of watching sort of billions walk out the door, but hey,
Yeah.
sometimes these things happen. Go and make your own freaking billions, okay?
Yeah, indeed. Well, there is that.
There is that. Then there's the Phil Collins story.
I don't know the Phil Collins story. The singer Phil Collins.
The singer Phil Collins.
Okay, go on.
Apparently he met this godforsaken woman.
What does that mean?
I mean, I mean, he met her. He fell violently in love with her.
Okay, was she
She broke
younger?
his. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
She broke his heart, messed him around, divorced him,
Oh,
and
so he
walked
did
out with
marry her.
a yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then walked off with a large chunk of money,
Okay.
which he enjoyed with her friend.
Oh,
Then got herself into some kind of situation. I don't know whether it was taxes or whatever it was. So she came back into Phil Collins's life.
no. And he
They,
took her back, or he should
yeah,
just
yeah,
kick
he
her
took her
out the
back.
door?
No, no, he took her back and everything. It was good for a while. Then she got some money,
Oh.
and then she naffed off again. So the third time, the kids were like, "Look, excuse me, are you
Yeah.
actually off your flipping rock?"
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I
And
can.
that's when you hear about the kids. They're like, "I can't believe it! And when you damn woman is down his back in it. I mean, the poor guy looks is. Have you seen him recently? The poor guy
Yeah, he's
is
quite
go,
bad. Yeah.
and she's not helping, man. And and the kids are like,
Severe
"What
arthritis.
is your freaking?" She every time she forgets something because I need more million. She just shows up and just like, brrr, whatever
Wow.
he's got bad for her, man. And I can understand. So this is when you think, look, man, maybe these kids do have a point. Maybe they're like, what's going on. So you've got the two ends of the scale where you can clearly see on one side, no, man, come on, that's ridiculous. And on the other side, there ifs, whens, buts, and howsoever's.
Yeah. There's
It's
a,
a really difficult. It's
I
a
mean,
really
there's many
difficult.
examples. Well, I've got friends of mine. I won't obviously remain nameless, but they had a similar situation with their father. They lost their mother, and he was dating, and he was obviously he's still not that old. Um, Maybe early 70s, I suppose. So he looked for a companionship, and he met somebody from Eastern Europe on a
Oh,
dating
well.
site and got together. And the thing is, he owned two or three properties. And, it was with this woman. And then what happened after that? He he had a heart attack and he passed away. Now the kids were trying to sort out the will and subsequently discovered that he changed the will to pass all the stuff to her and nothing for the kids. And they're like, what? So they tried to get in touch with her. So she'd only been in his life 6 months and ended up with all these houses and wealth that the kids were expecting and they didn't obviously get, which is quite harsh. I suppose it's a quite a common thing, but again, I raise the same question I've raised already at the beginning of the show. Should children be expecting to receive anything? They should be making their own way. The whole duty of parents should be to ensure that your kids are learn the lessons of life, know how to feed themselves, clothe themselves, how to fend for themselves, instill a work ethic, and help them guide and earn their own fortune.
Now, you see, if your friends had woken up, read the will, and then found out that he'd left everything to charity, I believe they still would have felt, oh, come on, he could have left her something.
Yes.
But there'd have been, yeah, okay, charity, well, this was always his favorite charity anyway, and it's going to help a lot of people. And I suppose it was his money. You take it like that. You just talk yourself down from the clay, talk yourself down from the ledge, and you're like, well, there goes the beamer, man. God damn it. I'll have to return, it, and all that sort of thing. But it's okay. No, it's not that. It's it's the thought of some bloody floozy. I took your, excuse me, I know they're your friends. Asshole father. For a ride, man. Come on, man. 6 months. What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing, man? There's just something gut-wrenching about it. Look, she took you out. She took you out. We thought you were more sensible. Well, what the hell? Well, why do you give her all three? I don't give her one, man. This is the problem. It's just that, oh God, she got him. She really got him, And what the hell is this? And look,
well, that's duping, isn't it?
She's lucky we're in the UK.
Yeah.
Because in America or somewhere like that, people hire people to off people like that. It's just that annoying. It's just like, what do you think?
Well, it's been duped, isn't it? It's not like
it feels like Now, from his point of view, maybe if you could meet him and resurrect him and ask questions, it could be they like his kids in the first place, and
we don't know the whole story.
We never know all that sort of thing. So but I just, the reason that I got tears in my eyes is just because I get the feeling that hang on, you only met in December. It's May. What the hell, man?
Yeah, like you say, give her one house if you're going to be bad. We'll complain, but but not all your wealth. Yeah,
everything. Well, you're making a statement here, man. What are you trying to say? Give it to charity. Even that's making a statement, but it's acceptable. There's something about just person from unknown place,
it's longevity plays a part, though.
Yes,
because if someone has only been here 5 minutes, you think, well, why? That's not right. It doesn't feel right in the balance of things.
Mm-hmm.
So in that instance, I mean, you feel that there's infatuation in that period. There's a bit of lust, I suppose. There's not the bedding
she'd
down.
been there for 30 years and she looked after the dad. They would still complain.
Yeah.
And say, why didn't you leave us something?
Yeah.
But they sort of understand. Well, 30 years, he was happy. When he fell ill, she looked after him and everything. You didn't even have to raise a finger. He was always well cared for, everything was good. And people just say, well, I don't know why he left everything, but okay, all right, and leave it
it's
like
more
that.
Accepting, isn't it?
It's more acceptable. Well, 6 months, man. Goodness gracious me. That's a bit. You'll tell me a story. This is your story. I think is like a joke or something. This is actually true, but I can't tell you the details because I've forgotten the details. But this is true. A gentleman married a rich man, almost like this Anna Nicole kind of situation.
Oh, yeah.
Married this woman he met somewhere, took her all over the world.
Okay.
The honeymoon was an all over the world thing. They went everywhere, visiting this, visiting that, visiting everywhere.
Lucky woman.
And then she had a couple of kids for him.
With him? Oh, okay.
Yeah, with him. Yeah, with him.
You see, that to me is like that's a good step. If you're willing to have someone's kids, then in a way you're committing yourself to some point. I get it in a way, but go on.
Well, the kids obviously nowadays in the West at any rate, I think particularly in America, it's you get your allowances through the kids. You have
Right.
to have kids. You
I
get something.
see.
I think California. I think they've got this whatever it is. This kind of law that's 50-50,
Mm.
no questions asked. We don't really care.
Oh,
But
right.
other states, yes, it's really through the kids. So if you
Children, yeah.
the kids, so children. So if you remember this song, was it Kanye West? She's a gold digger.
Yeah.
If you have her for, if you have kids with her, she's got you for 18 years. That's what it's all about. It's extracting. So anyway, she had the kids. Then she ran out, started running around with some other guy
Okay.
on him, and when he complained, she just, well, okay, yeah, we'll just get a divorce, and I'll just take
Take
half
half
your
anyway.
everything. Do you remember when I said they went all over the world?
Yeah.
One of the places they went to was an island in the Caribbean where you can get a divorce without telling the other person. He actually
Really?
he actually divorced her 3 months after having met her. They weren't
Three
married.
months, so she wasn't aware of this.
No,
So
because
he
on
could instigate a divorce without the other party's
correct,
involvement.
correct. It's a Caribbean island. I don't know which one it is.
But is it
So,
valid worldwide? Is that
it's a
allowed?
divorce. It's a divorce. It's the law of the country. So what happened was she could get palimony and things, but she couldn't get what she thought she was going to get.
Oh, wow.
And because he said, yes, if you had stayed with me and I had died, you'd have gotten everything. But I did
Right.
it because I said to myself, if you ever run out on me, you will find out.
Wow.
And
And that, so she
she
got,
found out
oh, wow. So she got what, nothing or very little just
very
for the,
little, very little.
wow. And this is a true story.
This is a true story.
Well,
That is,
that's something that's very interesting. But that opens up another can of worms about marriage itself. Um,
no, Paul McCartney and
oh,
what's the
what was the
name?
name?
I
The
forgot her name.
lady with
Heather something.
Heather
Heather
Mills.
Mills.
That was it.
80 million, man.
Okay.
80 million.
She got.
For what?
She was with him for about 3 or 4 years, though. It wasn't.
Yeah, is that 80
Yeah,
million?
I know. Compared to
I
his
mean,
wealth, he was worth 500
well,
million, but
he
that's
doesn't
still not the
care.
point.
And the daughter, I don't know if he has more than one child, because I've heard of this Stella. Is it Stella, the daughter?
Yeah, Stella McCartney. Yeah.
She's got her own money. She's all right. She's not going
Yeah.
to worry about,
No, 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 no.
dad's money or anything like that. So
I
she,
think her name helped her career. I don't know.
mm,
I'm assuming it may have done. But yeah, you're right. She's got a wealth of her own, so she's fairly
mm-hmm,
comfortable.
mm.
She's quite a designer, isn't
The
she?
designer, isn't she?
Mm,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. That's
So,
interesting. But going back to this story, do you think, therefore, at what point should the red flags or alarm bells be a concern for children if they have a parent? Because at the end of the day, remember, parents as well can get a little bit loopy as they get a bit older. There's, it's quite common. So,
yeah, the red flag is he's elderly. She's young and attractive and can get someone else. Why is she with this
yeah,
elderly person? That's a red
the
flag.
age gap, the
The age
age
gap.
gap in itself. Although that's not
He
just the
meets
age.
someone who is his age. And it's all lovey-dovey and everybody seems to be having fun. You can tell that money will walk out of the door, but genuinely there seems to be that kind of that's not what it's about. You
Yeah,
can actually believe that there's genuine affection there. It's the unbelievability of the thing that if you didn't have any money, would you be with him? And
yeah,
in our heart of hearts, we think, no, you wouldn't be
no.
with him. You know? I think that's the problem.
But again, it's also what the person looks like has a bearing because let's say, I don't know, you had an elderly person, say
Mm,
a man, elderly man, who's looking for a female, and he
mm,
finds a younger woman, but she's like quite plain, quite petite, you know, nothing to look at. Let's put it this way, Miss Average.
mm,
You would be less red flagged if she turned out to be, I don't know if it's a stereotypical image here, but if she was all voluptuous with short skirts, boobs hanging out, full makeup, you'd think, whoa, what's going on here? Is it because of society and this stereotypical image that tarnishes people's thoughts that the relationship could not be one of love, but rather of money?
Yeah, I think. Well,
Okay. I mean,
frankly,
again, following on from that, let's say he met a younger version, but she wasn't very attractive at all.
sorry.
She wasn't attractive at all. Let's
Ooh,
say he's
okay.
70, 75, and he met a 30-year-old who literally was unattractive, plain
Mm-hmm.
Jane, simple, whatever. But
Mm.
the age difference is 40 years. Now, would
Doesn't
we?
matter. Doesn't matter. First, they're going to say, "Why are you with him?" It's the money. Do you remember that wonderful quip by the TV presenter who interviewed Debbie? I don't know her surname, but she married.
Oh, this is Mrs.
She married
Merton.
Mrs.
Mrs.
Merton.
Merton is a comedy sketch in the UK,
Yes,
and Debbie
McGee.
McGee,
Debbie
who was
McGee.
married to Paul Daniels, the
She was his. She was his.
famous
She was his
his
assistant on
assistant.
stage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. Do you remember the line that she gave in the interview?
that's what I'm bringing up. Do you remember
Oh,
this?
I do remember the line. Yeah,
Go on, go on.
because Mrs. Merton asked her during an interview. She goes, "What attracted you to millionaire Paul Mc?"
So tell me, Debbie, what was it that first attracted you to the millionaire Paul Daniels?
Yeah.
Because he was no looker himself.
No, he was not a looker
He
at
was,
all.
yeah,
At
exactly.
all.
So
But
something that you see what
well, we
you
can
know
say,
what women say, because as a MGTOW, I'm happy to share this with you. What women say, we believe them, and it's part of the red pill, is that women are attracted to confidence,
oh, absolutely they are.
right? And what makes
Absolutely.
most men confident?
Money.
Exactly. And on top of all that, you can show her a good time.
Yep.
You can take her places and stuff. And so, what's in the loss, what do you call it, loss column? Not much.
Mm.
Not
Well,
much.
but the thing is, that's what some of these people who are looking for a bit of fun, they're older, they're looking for a last hurrah. They go, well, I'm not going to be around for much longer. You know what? I
Mm-hmm.
might as well splash my cash on a young floozy. That
Exactly.
could be the attitude. So
Yeah.
the kids could perhaps be thinking, oh, well, I'm looking after dad if it's their father.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the father's going, sod it. I
I
want to
got
go
someone.
out and enjoy myself,
Yep.
you know, the last hurrah. I want to get myself some young skirt and so be it. So we have to always take into account the wishes of the individual,
Mm-hmm.
why he's doing it. And the kids, if they had any sense, they would have to speak to the parent and say, why are you with this person? Is it because you love them, or is it, be honest? And if they're honest and say, look, I'm just chasing skirt, it's my chance to do it. What can the kids say
Mm-hmm.
other than be careful, don't fall in love, and don't give your resources away for nothing? I think that's the only advice that they could be.
Oh, a lot of families can have that kind of discussion.
Well, not many,
So it is what it is, and it's a very sensitive area anyway. Very sensitive, very sensitive thing to bring up, and it's really really difficult, and you just think to yourself, well, I don't know why, we've been going on about men
yeah,
finding younger women, but older women sometimes find
younger men,
younger men,
absolutely,
and the same
absolutely,
thing happens all
yeah,
over again, on the other side. So,
indeed, indeed.
and
There's, I mean,
what
yeah,
was
it's
it? What
not
was it?
just
If you
one
have
gender, yeah.
if you have a 54-year-old, excuse me, is it 54? Yeah, I think so. If you have a 54-year-old man and an 18-year-old girl, I'll say, and you have a 54-year-old woman and an 18-year-old lad, let's just remember that 54 goes into 18, a lot less than 18 goes into 54.
Oh. Oh dear, that's a terrible joke. Oh dear. Okay, I think that's a good point to end that topic just there. But so let's answer it
Oh,
before we move on to another
what
one.
did I see on it? What did I see today? It was a terrible, it was a terrible, terrible, horrible joke
Joke.
of some sort.
Oh.
And someone just said, well, this is a good point to leave the internet.
I think
That's it.
I
I'm
think
out.
I don't think that joke was quite at that standard, but
No,
yeah,
but it was the one where the person was okay. That's a good point. Leaving that,
indeed.
you can tell that you've been to here for way too long, Matt.
Let's answer the question though. Should
Hmm.
elders, kids interfere or intervene against alleged gold diggers? And it's only alleged.
Well, if they feel they should, good luck to them, because most parent-child relationships aren't built in such a way that it's an easy subject to approach.
Certainly difficult. I agree with you there, but they're looking out for their parents.
Looking out for themselves.
Yeah, but they are going to be considering them as well because they don't want to be left on the street for sure. But if they've just given away a bit of their wealth, then that's up to them. That
Mm.
really is. But
It is
it is difficult. It's not an easy answer.
very
You're
difficult.
right.
There's no easy answer here
No,
at all.
indeed.
It's one of
Indeed.
the hard ones.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move
Mhm.
on. Another question. Now, this one is actually mine, and it's an interesting one on information that was brought to light just recently. Does our food, especially in the West, actually slowly poisoning us? Is it slowly poisoning us? What do you
Hmm.
think?
I am aware that I've been aware for a while of a gentleman called Dr. Wysong. I may have mentioned him on our earlier shows or not. I have no idea. Wysong. I don't even know if he's still alive because when I read the book in 2011, was already in his 80s
Okay.
or whatever. So who knows?
Probably may not be around. I don't know.
Yes. And he had this fantastic quote in his book. And he said, look, eat what you like. If it swims in the ocean, flies in the air, or lives on the land. If it's not in one of these environments,
Categories, yeah.
then stay away from it because it'll kill you. And I think more than anything else, he didn't mention it specifically, but more than anything else, what I've recently come to understand is that perhaps I think someone else said, if we discovered sugar today, it would probably be classed as a drug.
For what we know about it, yeah, indeed.
It's what the drugs do? What's that thing that you do when you must have them?
You become
Addictive.
addicted, yeah, addicted to it, yeah.
It's addictive and it's very dangerous. I mean, it's actually not good for you at all, and it's in everything.
It is in everything. It's
Yeah, sucrose and fructose, the
yeah,
natural
yeah,
things
yeah.
you can that's fine. But these processed sugars, these bleached sugars, in
Awful.
other words, the lovely ones, the delicious ones, they're really, really, really bad for you.
Oh,
And these TV dinners and things, apparently their nutritional value is zips. Let me tell you something. My wife is currently in the, as I told you, she's in the US. And I think first morning she got there after the long flight and everything. She called me and said, I just had the worst buffet breakfast of my life. And I'm like,
what?
so she and I,
Yeah.
we're foodies, okay? We
Yeah,
love her.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So this is the worst buffet breakfast I've had in my life.
Mm.
Everything tasted artificial and terrible. There was nothing. The sausages didn't taste like sausages. The eggs didn't taste like eggs. Nothing tasted like it was meant to
Meant to
be.
be. Mm.
Yeah. So eventually said, I'm going to have to go and find somewhere where they serve organic food or something. But I said, but this, she's looking at the other people around, and they're lavishing, they're slipping it up. It's like, how come these people said even the bread and butter didn't even taste like bread, didn't taste like bread, butter didn't taste like butter. It was terrible.
Wow. The problem,
Uh,
I mean, you're spot on there. You're spot on. You see, our
but
bodies,
you told me you went to America many years ago and you loved your meal. It's not what you told me.
um, I went to America many years ago.
Yes, many. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking 30 plus years now.
Oh, okay.
So that was a long time ago, and it was fabulous. I mean, I enjoyed the food then. In these subsequent 30 years, I have been back since,
Mm,
as you know, and it's certainly different.
really?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely different. Nowhere near as good as it was back then. So in these intervening 30 years, what has changed?
In
Well,
fact, one of your complaints about Brexit, if I recall, was that we would be forced somehow to drop our food standards and let American style foods come into our
absolutely right.
shops.
Absolutely right. Because there's a problem as well in Europe. I mean, there are about 2,500 food additives that are permitted in our food, EU rules,
Mm,
and they are regulated by the EU and still currently in the UK. In the US, there are between 5 and 14,000 food additives, of which the FDA in America doesn't even know what they are. They don't
doesn't know
even
what they are.
doesn't know what they are. They know they're being used because the framework that they have is rather large. So basically, if they fit within this framework, we don't really want to know about it. And because
Mm,
they do, but because this framework is big, there's a lot of bits within it that are not good for you. But the FDA are like, well, if it's in that framework, if you're not consuming it every day, then you can get by with it.
it should be all right. It
Should be all
should be
right.
okay.
But unfortunately, those additives are cheap to produce,
Mm,
very bad for us. Our bodies are not designed to break them down.
mm,
So we struggle. And I've said this on a previous show. Our bodies are trying to conserve energy as much as possible. They don't want to expel energy more than they need to. And digesting food is a big chunk of your body's energy. Now,
mm,
if you're putting in additives that your body is struggling to break down, it runs out of juice, energy wise. It says,
mm,
do you know what? I can't deal with this. It's taking too long to break down. What I'll do quickly, I'll just store it as fat. I'll deal with it when I've got more energy another time. But does it go back to that fat?
mm,
No, because you've reintroduced more food in the meantime. So it has to focus on breaking that down. So if that would work if you didn't eat, because then eventually it has to go to the fat store to break it down to use
mm,
as further energy. But
mm,
because you've subsequently added more food in there, because we're not starving in the West, it doesn't need to go back to the fat store that it parked earlier. It has to focus on the next lot of food to try and break down. And then if it finds that there's additives in there, it will break down what it can and go, I'm pooped again. You know what? Let's just store this as fat. I'll deal with it next time. And you get rinse and repeat. Why do you
mm,
think? Why do you think the Western world is getting fatter and sicker? Because we are consuming between 60 and 80% of all food is ultra processed food.
mm,
It's not natural food. Ultra processed means it's gone through some sort of technique where it's bleached, it's had
mm,
additives, ammonia mixed through it to break it down and make it into a substance that can be easily kept on a shelf, easily transported. It can go around the world. It can be left on the shelf for a long period, so it adds value. That's ultra processed because you're shipping it worldwide. It has to sit on a shelf for possibly weeks. So they have to make it almost indestructible.
means our body can't
Our
even,
body
our
can't eat
bodies
it.
can't destroy it either.
Yeah, exactly. And this is part of the problem. And I mean, one of the subjects that I recently saw a video, which I will share with the blurb with our audience, was to do with, I've got to name it though. It's Will I name it? No, I'll just say a very popular diet drink.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll just list some of the ingredients. You can probably work it out for yourself. The ingredients were carbonated water, color, which is an ingredient called caramel E150D. I'll talk to you about in a minute.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, I can explain what that is. Even though it's caramel, it's got nothing to do with caramel.
I wouldn't have thought so. No.
Yeah, it's a carbohydrate that's been through the number of sets of industrial processes using chemicals and modifications such as acids, alkalines, and heat. And then it contains ammonia and sulfites. And that's what this caramel is.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in this carbonated drink. There's obviously artificial sweeteners too, which is aspartame. You've heard of aspartame?
Aspartame.
Yeah. And there's another one called I can't even pronounce it, acesulfame K. Now, aspartame we've had in loads and loads of food and drink, and there's stories of it being carcinogenic. Again, that's not proven, although more research needs to be done. But aspartame or aspartame, I can't know how to say it.
Aspartame.
It's in everything. It's in loads of things. Loads of things. Yogurts, food bars. It's a sweetener, in quotes, to replace sugar. Now, sugar is bad, especially refined sugar. But artificial sugar?
You can use fructose and what's the word? Fructose. What's the other one you can use? Fructose is natural.
Yeah, fructose is natural, but it's not always natural. Glucose syrup, for instance, is an unnatural sugar.
Yeah, not glucose. Fructose and I don't know what the other is. There's another ose of some sort, and it's completely fructose. One of them is on sugar cane, and it's fine.
It is before it's treated.
Before it's because it's brown when it's from sugar cane. Isn't it? It's brown.
Cane.
It shouldn't be white. If it's white, there's a problem.
Yeah, it's bleached. It's gone through the industrial process. Even sugar beet, which is an alternative to sugar cane, not as good, but still in its natural form, it's still clumpy and it's not white. But they break it down, they change the formulation, and they bleach it.
In fact, why do we even think that sugar should be white?
Because it's all natural. Used to it. It should be brown.
All natural sugars are brown. So why do we suddenly think that sugar should be white? It's so peculiar.
You see, humans can deal with sugar. We've dealt with sugar for thousands of years. Of course we have. Fruit has sugar. Sugar cane, that you've said, is a natural thing. Animals eat sugar. We can eat sugar. It's part of our body. We can deal with sugar. But the problem being with sugar is nowadays we are not as active as we were in the past. So we need to reduce the sugar that we take in. But
it's more easily available now.
Easily available. It's in more foods because we don't have to go hunting for our food.
And it's purer. It's in purer form. So it's like a heroin addict getting purer heroin.
Addict.
But that's not good at all.
Because why a lot of people are overweight is because they are seeking the dopamine hit in our brain that comes from eating refined sugar. You don't get the same dopamine.
As a fat person, I want to challenge that notion.
Go on.
I think that I speak for quite a large percentage of fat people when I tell you that the real problem we face is that we're just bone-ass lazy. Yes, that's my problem. It's not how much I eat. It's just the fact that
that's not
when it says true. I need to go and do exercise,
no. You don't have to. This is it. You don't have to. Think about it. Think about it. In the UK, 50% of the population is now overweight. But that means 50% who are subjected to the same foods are not overweight. And in America, unfortunately, the situation's worse. They're over 60 to 70% overweight.
By the way, when they say overweight, when
Ooh,
an American is overweight, it's not like I'm saying I'm fat. Nah,
wow. They're overweight.
those
I mean,
people are large.
significantly obese.
Goodness
I know.
gracious.
I think part of the problem as well is to do, like I said, with sugar, and profits above all else is what's
Mm,
important.
mm,
So, yes, when you go into a restaurant to eat, you want to be get value for money. Of course you do, because you're paying your top dollar for food. You want to come out satiated. But really, do you need steaks size of your whole body?
mm,
And that's just one course? I
wow.
mean, and because you see it on your plate, you feel compelled to finish it.
Mm,
There's an interesting study that was done that people would eat and clear the plate because the food that were conditioned to believe they should clear their plate. So if you had a bigger plate with loads of food on it, you made the effort to clear it. Even though your body has had enough food, you thought,
yeah.
well, I need to clear my plate
Mm,
because there's starving people in the world somewhere. I need to
yes.
clear it. So they did an experiment with the same people, and for I think it was 2 weeks, every meal they had to eat blindfolded. And what happened? Those same people with the same plates ate when they were full rather than clearing the plate.
Stopped eating when they were full.
Yeah, they stopped eating when they're full.
No,
So
you
when
said
you're full,
they were full. So
oh,
stopped
sorry,
eating.
yeah, stopped eating when they were full. And they always had stuff left on the plate
Mm,
because they couldn't see they were leaving it. They
mm,
were just having to listen to their own bodies
mm.
and identify that actually I'm full. And so they'd stop. And in those 2 weeks, they all lost weight
Wow.
because they just didn't look at the food. So there's psychological things that people can do to ensure that the food that they eat isn't too much. They simply get smaller plates. That's a simple
Yeah.
one.
I'm not sure that really works.
It actually does.
Because I go to a buffet, because I said my wife and I are foodies. When we hit the buffet, they usually give you smaller plates, right? And I just go, oh, means I have to come back 4 times instead
No.
of 3. And then my wife says, well, at least you'll get your steps in. There's always a bright side of life. So
Half
give me a large plate, man, so I don't have to come back again, for
so
God's
you can
sake.
stack it in that way, one go. So you can
Yes. Yeah.
the problem with as well with buffets is a lot of the foods that are there are all laced in sugar. So what the sugar do? It
Mm,
hits the dopamine. It stimulates a hunger hormone in our bodies called ghrelin, and that makes you go still a bit hungry. But
mm,
all you have to do when that happens is pause,
mm,
wait, literally give yourself 10 minutes because we eat too fast nowadays as
mm-hmm,
well. You get your plate, you stuff it down really quickly. You haven't given your body time to send a signal up to say, okay, yeah, I'd like a bit more, only a bit, or actually, I'm full. We haven't given the body time to do it. We rush our food and then we want to go back again. And then while we're eating that one and we're nearly, oh my God, I'm busting because the body's just got the message from the first lot you stuffed down. And now you've added a second lot.
mm,
Guess what? The body doesn't need to break it down. It says, well, I don't need this. I'm going to park it. And guess what? It goes back to
fat.
fat again. This is the problem. And the sweetness, going back to the sweetness, how I know all this, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is I am actually a weight loss mentor. I am qualified in this field. Hence, I do know about food. Our bodies can self-regulate. They really can. Because if you started eating home cooked food, natural food that you cooked in your kitchen, you would be healthier and your weight will drop because your body can break it down. It doesn't have to store it as fat. And it won't want to because as soon as you start to get full, it goes, oh, I've had enough now. And you don't eat more of it. So you
All my meals
regulate.
are home. All my meals are home cooked.
Then you've got an advantage. Your health could be good, but there must be other reasons and other
Oh, no, it's lazy.
foods. Is all your food home cooked?
It
Can I ask you a
is.
question? Do you eat bread?
Nope.
None at all.
Nope.
Good for you. You don't need bread. But if you do, I do recommend people actually look at trying to make it themselves. It only takes 4 ingredients to make bread. Anyone can make it. Simple. You just need an oven and of those 4 ingredients. Your body can deal with bread. But everyone is afraid in the Western world. Oh, carbs, carbs, carbs. It's not carbs that's the problem. It's the type of carbs. And a lot of these sweeteners, natural, they say natural flavorings, but they're not. These sweeteners are just not good for us. They really are not. I'll give you an example of what the sweeteners actually do to your body. If you drink these drinks with artificial sweeteners in, our bodies are very clever. You see, when you put something sweet on your tongue, it signals to your brain that something sweet, sugar, is coming its way. So what the brain does, goes, I've got carbohydrates coming. I've got to tell the insulin to lower the blood glucose because we've got more sugar coming in. So I've got to tell the body this information. Now, what happens? You're putting aspartame or spartamine on your tongue. Your brain thinks, oh, sugar's coming. And then you drink it and it's not sugar. The body goes, what's happened here? I sensed something sweet. It never arrived. What's happened? What's happened? It gets confused. So what it does, it flips the switch, makes your glucose level shoot right up in the blood artificially. It raises up artificially and also releases what seems to appear to be the stress hormone cortisol. So you are now putting your body under stress just by drinking a diet drink from a bottle or a can. So rather than it doing you good, it's actually having really, really negative effects on your body because of this artificial sweetener. So it's not ideal at all in this day and age. I mean, it really should be something we should limit in our diet. And bread now, as well, as we've already touched on, if you buy shop-bought bread anywhere, even pizza dough, anything like that, it should only have 4 ingredients. So look at the packet. If it's got more than 4, put it back. Not good for you. And
There's a guy on YouTube who swears a lot. A black guy on YouTube. He's been thrown out of stores because it takes a camera in there and then it picks up something from the shelf. Goes, what's all this? It's like he goes, you got 4 things you need. You got four things. I mean, flour, bread, flour, water, eggs. Is it yeast?
Yeast.
These are the 4 things.
Oh, you don't need eggs.
I
Okay,
wasn't.
go on.
What's all this?
Yeah, all this other stuff.
And then he starts screaming, this is a load of F's and B's and he throws it back onto the shelf and says, this stuff will kill you. This stuff. And then the manager says, sir, you're disturbing a lot of customers. Would you please leave? You know, he's actually quite famous.
Oh, is he?
Famous for dissing. He's British.
Is he?
Lives in London somewhere. Really.
Yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. I mean, what's the other thing that's in these carbonated drinks? Phosphoric acid. Okay, you see that phosphoric acid to give it the sparkly.
Oh, I see.
Phosphoric acid leaches minerals out your bones.
Excellent.
What a lovely product. It also rots your teeth. So does citric acid. So it's a great product, phosphoric acid. And obviously they throw in caffeine most of the time as well, which isn't bad in itself. But you've got these great items in this drink. Now the strange
diet
thing,
health food or something.
Yeah, diet food. So people are mistakenly thinking it's healthy because in the UK we put these green and amber and red flags on food. If it's got high fat, it's got red flag. If it's got medium fat, it's got amber flag. And if it's got low fat, it's a green flag. And the same with salts, with phosphates, with what the other things the flags are for, sugar, things like that in the food. So you see these little traffic lights. So you can get a rough idea when you pick up a bag of, in a store, all the traffic lights on there. Are they mostly green? Then that's not that bad for you. Okay. And you can work it out accordingly and make an educated decision on the food you're buying. But these soft drinks, they're all green.
Wow.
They're all green because it's low in calories, low in fat, low in sugar, low in salt. It's all green. So you think it's one of the best things you can possibly have, when in reality, the chemicals and the processing that it has to go through makes it the opposite of that. One
Nice.
of the worst foods you can possibly have.
Oh, amazing. I thought it was I really thought it was down to biscuits, cakes, ice creams,
They are
and chocolate
all
bars.
they are all ultra processed foods.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I didn't think, I mean, I knew about the aspartame, but like I said, there were questions about it. It's not as if it's been proven in a
Well, the
court of law that is
carcinogenic
bad for you.
element of it hasn't been proven, but the fact that it has this effect on the body, it has.
I see.
So that's actually been proven. And I suspect subsequently it won't land in a favorable position in terms of this artificial sweetener. And it's not just singling out this particular one. There's several. I mean, there's
Yeah, we know.
Advantame, cyclamates, neotame, saccharin, sucralose, stevia, and stevia derivatives. Although the latter two actually
Stevia,
are
others
better.
actually,
They're better than
your
the
GP
others.
actually says you to start using stevia. Don't GPs tell you to go and start using stevia, whatever it is?
Stevia are not as bad as the others,
And it's only
although they're still
because of
artificial.
Dr. Y's song. I was like, yeah, I've never heard of that. I'm not gonna.
Hmm.
I've never heard
Yeah.
of it. It's not on a farm. I'm not going to go anywhere near it.
I mean, that's a great attitude, by the way, what you're practicing, because if you are indeed sticking to what that doctor said, then you'll be okay. Even though you might be overeating occasionally, your health will be okay. And that's what's important. It doesn't matter if you're overweight, in actual fact, if your health and your cardiovascular system is okay. If you don't have clogged arteries, I'll give you an example of a lot of people in the Pacific region who they're huge as a
Yeah.
collective people.
Fiji.
Yeah, Fiji and places
The
like that.
Fijians.
They're big people. They eat a lot of food, and a
Yeah, but
lot of them are
they
big.
plantain though. I mean, that
It,
stuff will freaking goodness gracious me. Talk about fattening, man.
yeah, that's why it's fattening. But a lot of the food is still natural. It's not as processed as what
No,
our
it's
diet
was it
is.
plantain and fish.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, it will put the weight on, but your body can still deal with it. It's the health elements. The problem we have is we have a lot of visceral fat, which is the fat that goes around our arteries and our organs, which are not good for us. And the poor diet that we eat with all these ultra processed food additives contribute to that and cause us bad health. So we get blocked arteries, we get all sorts of other weird things going on with our organs because the food is causing the problem. There was a famous example of a doctor who used to treat smokers, and he used to see their arteries. They used to get arterial disease. He used to treat them and used to see the arteries were getting blocked because of smoking, because obviously that's bad. And then he started to see a lot more obese people getting heart attacks, and their arteries were worse than the smokers. He said they were 10 times worse because of all the rubbish food that we are now consuming. So married with the quantity, it's the poor nature of these ultra processed food which will make us sicker. So I'm mindful of the time here. To answer the question, I don't know what you think, is our food slowly killing us?
Well, I'm looking at average. Sorry, I'm looking at life expectancy in Fiji. This is from an AI answer in Brave, and it says life expectancy of Fijians at birth is about 67 to 68 years.
Okay.
Life expectancy in the UK at the upper, because there's unfortunately there's class variance of about, quite a lot, by the way. Is about 19 years, it says. Good Lord. Is 78.6.
So we're living longer, but are we living better and healthier lives? What's the point
I
of
think
living longer because drugs are keeping you alive if you can't actually do the things you want to do whilst you're getting older?
I don't know. It doesn't talk about
Hmm.
life quality of lifestyle. It just says what it is. So
Okay.
so
Well,
it's take your it's dropped in America though recently, hasn't it?
yeah. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. I mean,
Yeah,
my view is the food killing us. I wouldn't say killing us. It's certainly doing us harm.
not helping.
Yeah, certainly not helping.
The
And
average person, I think. The average.
yeah,
I've seen as a teacher horrific sights of parents bringing in McDonald's for the kids, and they just think to yourself that, and that's it by their an entire lifestyle.
indeed.
So that's what they're going to eat all the time,
Yeah,
and you're just thinking
that's disaster.
that's absolutely not good.
Indeed. I know someone I used to work with,
Wow,
and that's all he had. Morning, lunch, and dinner was all takeaway because his partner, the story in itself there, couldn't cook, didn't know how to cook. They had a little baby, and they would often say, "Oh, we'd ask him, oh, what would you have? What are you having for dinner today?" "Oh, well, we had a McDonald's breakfast. We always have McDonald's breakfast. I'll go home for lunch, and we might get some chips for lunch, and then in the evening we might have a curry takeout or a Chinese or um, one of the other takeouts.
grief.
And the kids as well. The kid. I mean, that's not good. Anyway, we've gone
Wow.
over time here. Unfortunately, we have reached the end of the show for another week.